Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I'm so grateful to have you here, sharing in this space of growth, healing, and transformation. If you've already subscribed to Loving Everything, thank you for being a part of this beautiful community. Your support means so much, and together, we're creating a space where love in all its forms can be explored and embraced. As you listen to this episode, if it resonates with you, I invite you to like the video and share it with anyone who might benefit from the insights we're diving into today. These conversations are all about expanding our capacity to love ourselves, each other, and the world around us. And if you enjoy what you hear, don't forget to explore my other episodes where we journey into love's deepest, most unconditional forms. Each one is an invitation to reconnect with the parts of yourself that are waiting to be seen, healed, and loved. So thank you for being here. Let's begin. Hi, Jules.
Hi, Andrea.
Let's talk about how we met.
Oh, goodness.
Do you want me to start?
Yes, please.
Okay.
You start.
Okay.
Tell me what you thought when you walked into our dorm room and saw me.
It's interesting because, so I've known Jules for 33 years. We met in college. And we're going to talk about how we met and all of the things. But I've been thinking about this recently since we got back into touch. And I've been thinking about like how we first met. And I think you were in the hallway of our dorms in between our two dorm rooms, like where the bathroom might have been.
Bathroom on one side and shower on the other? Yeah, with the sinks in the middle.
And I seem to remember, like, when I met you, I just remember you seemed so wise and experienced, even maybe, and mature, even if maybe that's not how you were feeling in life. To me, you just seemed like you'd experienced so much of life, so much more of life than I had an opportunity to do so. And so to me, it felt like, at least in the first couple of years, that you would almost like chuckle at how inexperienced I was on a consistent basis.
Yes.
So I always just felt like I was catching up.
You were.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was more of it was a condition of your environment, not because you weren't like mentally wise, because you were wise. You just had to crack open to that because you were in such a sheltered position as a child where your parents didn't want you to grow up and they didn't want you to experience life and they didn't want you to be exposed to anything. I'm actually really surprised they let you go to Sonoma State. But I remember you saying that you picked Sonoma State because it was so far away from your parents and you wanted to get away.
I sure did.
Yes, you did. And you were so young and you were like me because you were a youngster. You started college at the age of 17. You moved away from home before you were of legal age. And I remember doing the same thing. I moved to San Luis Obispo from Mendocino when I was 17. And I remember I had to get a blood test and my doctor had to call my mom at work, and she was a PE teacher. And the office to the gym was really far away. And they had to like send a runner to the gym to ask my mom to pick up the phone so that she could tell the doctor that they could take blood from me because that's an operation and you're not allowed to do that to someone without the parental consent if they're under the age of 18. So even though we were technically on our own, we were still seen by the state as minors. So when I met you, you were a legal minor, and it was a big jump, I think, for you to move so far away from your parents. And not only that, go from LA to Granola U. where Orange County, your dad's a lawyer, your family has a Mercedes, you live
Not at that time, we didn't.
You live on Monarch Beach with a view of the ocean, and you were a cheerleader.
Well, I think that meant a lot of things, but like behind the facade, it really wasn't.
But that was like, you were living that was your lifestyle. That was your identity. And then all of a sudden you're up in Mendocino County where people are...
Sonoma County.
Sorry, what did I say?
Mendocino County.
No, Sonoma. Pardon me. You're right. So you're up in Sonoma County where you are now faced with a roommate like me who's like, you need to recycle paper. You need to turn off the water when you're not brushing your teeth. Don't steam your dress in the shower for 15 minutes. Get an iron. Do what you should do to it instead of waiting or wasting the water while it's doing that. Just all sorts of things that you weren't exposed to. It must have been very hard.
It just felt like I was always doing something wrong. But I think I felt that way anyway. So that was just a story or a belief that I had about myself anyway. I don't think it had anything necessarily to do with you. Certainly you may have exacerbated that just based upon the difference in experience.
It was really fun to laugh at you sometimes.
Okay.
No, because you were just like, like at that time, my best friend was Nicole, who was going to Chico State. And she and I were the same age, everything. And then you were this little girl, like 2 years younger than us. And you were just so bright-eyed and wide with wonder. And Nicole and I did have 2 years experience on you because 19 is so much more worldly than 17. And it was just funny to watch you kind of learn the ropes as an adult or becoming a non-adolescent, because I don't think you're an adult when you're 18 or 19.
No, you're just still
that takes a long time.
Life.
Yeah. Adulthood takes a long time. We're just older kids at that age.
Yeah. So to catch everyone up to speed who is listening and or watching, all of these places, Sonoma County, Sonoma State is actually in Northern California. It's about an hour north of San Francisco. And Chico State is like maybe 4 hours inland, right? Towards the east.
Closer to Shasta.
Excuse me. Yes. And so for contextual points, I came from Orange County, which is south of LA. And Jules grew up in Mendocino County, which was almost at the top of Northern California.
Everyone says that. It's not. Eureka's at the top of Northern California.
I said almost at the top.
We're still 6 hours away.
It's like still north.
It is very north.
It's not Central California.
It's not Central California.
Okay.
It is
in
very north.
comparison to where I grew up, it is near the top of California.
Nearer to the top of California. We were a community that was established primarily after the hippies left Haight-Ashbury, and they moved north to Mendocino County, specifically the Mendocino Navarro area, and they formed communes up there. And it was a very hippie, organic, free love community. And I grew up in that lifestyle where I didn't understand until much later that green economy meant everyone was growing marijuana, not that we were based on, solar living and wind power or anything like that. They didn't mean it green that way. They meant like, it's a green economy. You are growing pot. And everyone was growing pot, I think, except my parents.
Yeah.
So that Mendocino is quite a different experience than Orange County.
Yes.
Where when we wanted to go out of town, it took us 2.5 hours to get to the next biggest town, which would be Santa Rosa.
Yeah. And I was in a city.
And originally back then, it was my 1972 Volkswagen Bug with 4 gears that didn't like to go above 55 miles an hour. And that was okay because the speed limit then was 55.
Yeah. I forgot you owned a Bug.
I had a Bug. You never saw my Bug. You
I
knew
saw
me
pictures.
when I had the CRX.
Yes. The infamous
Hilarious.
Honda CRX. Okay. Jules, how would you describe our friendship journey over the past 33 years?
It's been tumultuous. It's been painful. It's been enlightening. It's been fantastic. It has been gratifying. It has been frustrating. I think any emotion you could put onto it, I know that I have at times very much been jealous of you like a sister. I have been happy for you like a sister. You and I have at times been the primary person in each other's lives. So I've been jealous or missed you when you have gone off and done things on your own. I think we've had the full gamut in our relationship. However, I remain loyal to you, and I know you remain loyal to me. And now that we're 3 decades into this relationship, I'm super glad and honored that we still talk to each other.
Yeah. And I can say the same. I mean, I have never held a relationship, even if it's had times where we've not been in touch. I've never had a relationship this long in my life. There's not one relationship that I could tell you that has lasted this long.
And I'm blessed because you are one of many that have lasted this long. And I'm very happy for that. You know, there's a couple friends from high school I still talk to. Well, actually, there's 3 of them from high school I still talk to.
Yeah.
And there's you. And then there's some people that I met in Australia that I still talk to, but there's not a lot. And so I'm a very picky person about who I have in my life. I don't have a broad spectrum. I have a very small circle of friends. And I have found that people that I've met later in life don't tend to stick like the people that I've met earlier on, like you. Formative years. It's like when you listen to a song from the 80s, at least I do, and I know all the lyrics, even though I haven't heard it for 30 or 40 years, but I can't sing a song that I heard a week ago, you know, because like I just can't, or like a year ago, like something new just doesn't stick in my brain like the old stuff that you just know. And I just know you. That's Andrea. No matter who you become in life, you're always going to be who you are right now to me. My sister.
The smile.
Well, you're the one who looked at pictures of me and said that I look like you.
Yeah. Well, you look like you belong to my family is what I said. I said you look more like my family than you look like yours. Looking back to when we first met in college, what were your initial impressions of me and how did they change as we grew closer?
You were very naive and you were very innocent. And as we grew closer, I saw how much you needed someone to help you break out of that shell that you were in. And, you know, I was happy to take you by the hand and kind of introduce you to the world, which I think it did, sometimes abruptly. But I think we had fun. You grew up with me. Like you were on your own. You learned to be an adult around me. I learned to be an adult around you.
Yeah.
And that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. A lot of memories. A lot of
fun,
memories.
Lots of experimenting to find out how relationships work with between us, between other people,
Yes.
with jobs, with school,
Totally.
with boyfriends. Like
Yeah.
we learned all of that together. And lucky us, we had each other to come back to bounce our experiences off of.
Yeah. We confided in each other a lot, listened to each other, worked through things together, problem solved together. And back then, I was definitely, again, looking up to you. So I just remember when I met you, you just seemed like you had it all together.
Wouldn't that be nice?
You were talking to my mom, you know, like you just seemed like you were so mature.
Well, that was the hard thing for you. you still wanted so badly to make your parents happy. And I could
sure
see
did.
how much it hurt you to try to make your parents happy and how much turmoil you went through trying to balance what they wanted from you with you trying to become your own person. And there were so many arguments you'd have with your mom on the phone, or times that she'd call you up and try to manage you from a distance. And it was just horrible. And we had many long talks, and there were many crying sessions where you were just growing pains.
Yeah.
And me telling you, you don't have to do that. You don't have to listen to your parents. And I really feel that I was instrumental in getting you to break off from them. And I know they hated me and resented me for it. I know that they thought I was like this evil person who was taking you away.
Yeah, they just blamed you.
Yeah, but I mean,
instead of taking responsibility for their actions and recognizing that they were literally pushing me away,
they blame me for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I actually think, though, that kind of set me up for a long time to feel like I'm the bad guy with the bad influence over my friends. Because I have always felt that way. Like I am the corrupter. And I think it started with you, because I know that you were innocent when I met you. And I know you weren't innocent much longer than that.
Well, let's see. What have been the most significant milestones we've experienced together, and how do you think they've shaped who we become? We've become.
Yeah, milestones. So meeting each other, milestone number 1. Like that opened up my eyes to stuff I didn't realize was even available. Like I didn't know anything about the Orange County way of life.
So I influenced you?
Yeah, of course you did. You know, like, yeah, absolutely. Because I grew up in Mendocino, where everyone's an atheist, where everyone is libertarian, where everyone smokes pot, everyone eats granola, everyone recycles.
Everyone actually eats granola. It's not just a phrase.
No, I was eating avocado toast when I was 5. Like, why is that a big deal now?
Because it's delicious. And the rest of us are like, why were you holding out on us?
Oh my God, avocado on wheat bread. Like, hello, Saturday morning with breakfast. It's just... That's yogurt. Like, that's how I grew up. And you didn't have any of that. And, you know, it was really fun to learn from you about a different style of life. Money, cars, like that superficial LA Orange County vibe. Like that wasn't, you know, like you and your frickin' Z Cavaricci jeans and your crush on Cindy Crawford. I mean, that was
I had
not
such a crush on Cindy Crawford.
That was
not
not my reality at all. And so that was good for me. And we opened each other's eyes to a lot of things.
That's cute. I was not aware of that.
And Claudia Schiffer.
Oh, yes. All of the Victoria's Secret models.
But not Heidi Klum or Naomi Campbell, because they weren't around yet.
Yeah. I wanted to be famous. I think
yes,
I wanted...
you did.
Yes,
you did.
Yeah.
And you had those cheeky Z Cavaricci shorts, I think.
No, they were Roxy.
Were they Roxy? Those were short.
I'm aware.
Daisy Duke was envious, let me tell you.
Okay.
She ain't got nothing on your buns, hun. Oh, and you taught me about I don't want none unless you got buns, hun.
Oh, that song?
That was your song. That I remember was your song.
Well,
Baby
it
Got
was
Back.
high school. It was high school.
Yep.
It made me laugh. That song made me laugh.
I never heard it till you. Thank you for that.
Oh, hey, no problem. Bringing it back to the 90s. So we met in 1991 to bring it back. And yeah, those were the times. So you were there when I first began to confront the emotional abuse and abandonment from my family, especially my mother. What was it like witnessing me go through that?
Horrible to watch someone in that much pain, because you were so torn, because you wanted to be you wanted to still please your parents. Your sisters teased you and called you Presh. You were the precious little girl in the family, and that was your role in the family. Your role in the family was to be the little girl that mommy and daddy took care of and loved, and you did everything right. And your sisters were envious because you got the love that they didn't get. And you wanted, I think, in a way to retain that relationship, but at the same time, you needed to grow and evolve on your own, and you did not know how to do that. And it was very painful for you as you were stretched and pulled in different directions. And it took you years to become independent from them. And, I was there, I hope, for you enough times to give you the support you needed, to give you some clarity and some confidence that it was okay for you to get away from your parents and you didn't need to be doing what they wanted you to do all the time, that you were allowed to make decisions for yourself. And if your parents told you needed to do something, you go, yeah, great. Thanks for the information. I'm glad you feel that way, but this is my life, not yours.
Oh, I didn't learn that for years.
But I would tell you, Andrea, just
you would tell me
it.
You were my confidence. You would tell me what to say. We talked about this, I think, either earlier today or yesterday, while you've been visiting this trip, that I remember being on the phone. I remember when the phones had really long cords.
Oh,
I had a phone in my garage, and you saying, just get in the car. My mom's like confronting me in the stairwell of the home that they owned at the time, and you're like, just get in the car and drive. Like, and I looked up to you so much that I would have done anything that you said at that time, because I didn't necessarily know the path forward, but I knew that it needed to be a different direction. And so you were kind of like my guiding light in some ways.
I honestly felt like I knew what was better for you than your parents. And,
I learned to trust that.
I have so much humility around saying that now, going, oh, fuck, what was I thinking? But I really honestly felt like I knew what was better for you than them. So in some ways, you substituted
knew me better
them
than
for
me.
You substituted them for me. And I certainly shouldn't have been anyone's role model at the time.
But you knew me better than they did.
I did. And I'm very proud of who you've become. So I did a very good job. But yeah, it was very hard to watch you go through that. And I'm glad that I was able to get you through what you needed to go through, and hopefully in a less painful way than if you didn't have me there to help you.
Oh, it was definitely. I mean, I don't know what the other experience would have been,
right.
But of course, I'm grateful that you were there.
Well,
I couldn't have done it without you.
If you had to rely on one of your other roommates, then I don't know if you would have ever stayed in Northern California, actually.
I probably would not have. Yeah.
Because your parents really tried hard to get you to go back down.
I know they did.
Many times.
On multiple occasions. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's funny what you and I remember when we look back, but I was just reminding you today that I didn't have a vehicle, and you were shocked, but they did everything that they could to prevent me from being successful
and independent, and not
make it a miserable experience. I think they were not necessarily
punish you for growing up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, how did you perceive the ways I coped with the pain from my family of origin, especially my struggle with drinking? Did it impact our relationship?
Well, as you reminded me earlier, you were drinking your freshman year, but when I met you, you were not really you were still the good girl. You were still not drinking a lot. You had never done drugs. I don't know if you smoked pot when I don't think you'd smoked pot until after I met you. You certainly hadn't had sex when I met you. So you were very innocent and young. And
it was.
As we went through that first semester of school together, you got to experience, I think, everything college had to offer, for better or for worse, right at the beginning.
Yeah, it was like ripping off a Band-Aid.
And yeah, it was ripping off a Band-Aid, and it was very painful for you. And, drinking obviously helped you cope. But I also think you were drinking because you wanted to fit in and relax. You wanted to I think, disassociate some from who you were and check out a different type of person, and drinking enabled you to do that.
I see it when I look back, but I'm looking at it more as like from maybe a more detached or, macro view. I see it as I now know it to be that I was trying to suppress the trauma that I had experienced while still also regulate my nervous system because it was still happening. So I was trying to get rid of the pain that I had already experienced and then at the same time mitigate the pain that was being perpetuated by my family.
Yeah, alcohol is definitely not the way to do that.
But if that's the only thing that is socially acceptable and it is the easiest to access, it's the easiest to access.
Was it though? You weren't 21 yet.
Yeah, but it was socially acceptable to get it easier to get than it was to go get a tab of acid. You had to be in the right circumstances to you had to know the right people. You know, you can just buy a hit of ecstasy at college.
Well, the other thing too is I think that if I remember correctly, I think I tried to get you to go to therapy and you were totally aghast that I would suggest to you that you need to talk to someone. I do believe that there was...
I don't think I pushed back. I went. You had me go to Jewish family services.
Okay.
I don't think I had any issue going. I knew I was. Yeah, I don't think.
Was it the fear that your parents would find out and think that that wasn't okay for you?
I think it was probably just potentially it was scary because no one in my family believed in therapy.
I think that I know that there was some reluctance about therapy, and that's probably your parents and your sisters thinking that you shouldn't have done that.
When you look back at who I am as a person. Was I ever really resistant at not knowing more about being better?
You always wanted to be better. You always wanted to learn. You were always willing to push the envelope. You would dive in, as you still do, without looking at to see if there's rocks below. And hey, you know what? Both of us have managed to survive. We act on the same impulses all the time. Okay, Winston Churchill, all you need to know is 49% of the information before you make a decision. So I don't know if you and I wait till 49%.
It can be pretty impulsive, but I like to see it as I know what I want. And I do think about it. It's not like when I bought the property in Sardinia, I hadn't been thinking about it for a really long time. I made a choice very quickly because I had been thinking about it for a very long time.
Yeah.
And the opportunity presented itself. So, and that's how I like to see it. But going back to the earlier part of our conversation is I just feel like, if there was any resistance around getting therapy, certainly I don't remember. But my point is, knowing me, I always feel like, as far back as I can remember, that growth has always been important to me. That getting to be less naive, getting to be, like I was always open to mentorship. I was always open to being wrong.
Absolutely. You definitely went.
As a matter of fact, I think I always thought I was wrong. So I was just like, can you tell me what's right?
Yeah. Your eyes were wide open. And you, like I've said to you before, you were a little sponge. Like everything you could absorb, you did.
Yeah.
I never saw you get saturated. I saw you get overwhelmed, but I never see, like, you just kept on going. You just kept seeking more all the time.
I know I've been emotionally abusive towards you at times. Can you share your perspective on how those moments, can you share your perspective on those moments and how you managed to stay by my side?
Look, everyone that you love is going to hurt you at some point in time. And it's coming from a family where that happened quite frequently. you know, I'm used to people neglecting me. I'm used to people saying mean things to me and hurtful things to me. And so to me, that's normal. And so having that happen with you was normal in some ways. And so, yes, I'd get mad. Yes, I'd go away. Yes, I wouldn't talk to you. Maybe I'd lash out at you because you hurt me, but it was normal. And so I think in that case, that's why I could come back to you at a later point in time, because it was just how I'd grown up. And that's what love meant, was love is good and bad. And also...
And lightly abusive.
And also lightly abusive. But also, as I've gotten older, you know, there's been people in my life who I have never wanted to let go of. And you're one of them, because, like you said, we've known each other for 33 years. You can't say that you've known anyone longer than me. Relationships are important. Family is important. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I just think that I've been really blessed that even though we've had these bad times together and we've probably hurt each other many times over, we've still been able to kind of get past that and move on.
Well, I mean, if we're looking at a even larger perspective, it's obvious that we haven't done that. I mean, this isn't the first time we've done this.
No.
Yeah. And, you know, it was like instant recognition when I first met you. And when I look back at the words emotionally abusive, right, I didn't even know what that was. So thanks for pointing that out. It's not like at 17 I knew I was emotionally abusive, or that I came from a family that was emotionally abusive. I didn't even know if that was a thing. It was just how we treated each other. I knew I didn't like how my family treated each other. Yeah. And I knew that I didn't want to be that, but I didn't have a lot of modeling outside of that. So thanks for taking ownership for the fact that we both hurt each other, but also, like, I don't think I learned what emotionally abusive was until somebody asked for the ring off of my finger and told me that I was emotionally abusive and they didn't want to marry me. And that was not, I mean, we're going to get to Chad, but that was not him. And so I didn't even know what that term was. And I had to explain that to my mom at one point because she was disappointed that I lost that relationship. And I had to explain to her, right, that he told me that, that I was, you know, emotionally abusive to him. So
that's hard to hear from someone you love.
Yeah.
It's eviscerating.
Yeah. It was not easy. It was not easy. And then to have her say, which she did, you know, and my response was, well, then, you know, you go marry him if he's that important to you.
Jeez.
But, I lost a relationship over it. And that was a big lesson. That was right after I had my daughter, and I was probably 25. I was probably 25. And, I embarrassed him in front of his family and humiliated him. And he took me home to meet his sister. He took me to meet his sister, and his mom met us there. And and so that was a big learning lesson. I mean, I've had big pivotal moments in my life, but that was certainly, I mean, not top, but that was close. Yeah. So, okay. There were times you stepped away from our friendship because of the things I put you through emotionally. And what made you come back?
Like I said, like, I'm a damaged soul, and
you're not anymore. Stop.
No, but I was then, you know.
Okay.
And I was a damaged soul, and that was normal. So of course you're going to treat me like crap, because that's what I
expected.
Felt.
You were worth.
It's what I was worth. It's what I expected. That was my identity. You know, growing up, the fat, ugly middle sister that had no voice, and my little sister was blessed and perfect. And my older sister was, out of the house because she was 7 years older than me.
And smart and perfect.
No, not smart.
Okay, well, perfect.
We are, let me put it this way. We are all incredibly intelligent women in my family. All of us, all generations of the women in my family are incredibly intelligent. And we have all been made to feel that we are dumb as a box of rocks. And that comes from my paternal grandfather and down. And we were never good enough. And we were never smart enough. And my older sister certainly feels it and is in a relationship that does nothing but cycle that back to her to this day. And now her sons treat her that way. It's just horrible. I'm in a relationship where I'm feeling like I'm not respected and not thought of as intelligent and not thought of as I'm being a contributor to the family as well. And I'm trying to work through that with my husband because we do love each other very much. It's just breaking a toxic cycle that we've gotten into.
Yes.
My little sister, to me, is in a relationship with her husband, who she's been with for about 20 years, and I see her as invisible in that relationship. So for me, it's normal to be in a bad relationship with someone and keep coming back. Like, that's what I do. So for better or for worse, I've been very loyal to the people who I have loved and do love.
Even when they hurt you.
Even when they hurt me. And, but
That's a pattern of abuse, by the way.
I agree.
Yeah.
But again, it's normal. And I will probably continue to do that for the rest of my life because I love they're my family. I love them. And they're not always perfect. No one is. And I adopted in my mind as my sister. And so, like, why break the cycle if it works, it works.
Well, hopefully I'm not still abusing you.
No.
Why break the cycle now? Just keep it going.
Why ruin a good thing?
We both faced incredible trauma. I think you've hinted at some trauma bonding. And actually, as you describe your experience, even though I wasn't the middle sister, even though I was the baby, even though I grew up in a different environment or in a different household, 10 hours away probably from Mendocino, my experience was the same.
Yep, it was shocking. Completely different lifestyles and yet the same life experiences.
Yeah. And so we bonded over that. We had so much in common, right? And it was like, oh, you understand me. You understand what I've been through.
And I don't think I'd ever met anyone before who had that perspective.
Yeah.
Because even my friends in high school treated me like shit. Great friends. Some of them are great friends and I still love them very, very much if you're listening. But you know who you are. But, there's also, I dealt with mean girls and we didn't call them mean girls back then.
Yeah.
And that was very detrimental to all of us. I mean, and I'm watching that happen now with my niece who is 16, 17 years old and she's beautiful and incredibly smart and just has so much going for her. And she's dealing with mean girls and she's being made to feel like she's not worth it. And she's, being shunned. And it's tragic that as women, we put each other through that.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah.
I
and
agree.
Why are we like that to each other?
Because I don't think we know how to manage our emotions. We have a lot of them. I mean, everyone does. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that men are emotional.
Only women have emotions.
Hold on. I wasn't saying men are emotionless. I'm saying we handle our emotions differently, right? Mm-hmm. And so women express them. We are very good at communicating our feelings. I won't say needs necessarily everyone, but communicating our feelings, right, on things. And I think you're still learning how to wield your power when you're young. You're still learning what is hurtful, especially if you don't come from a family that modeled kindness and compassion to you. You're still, I mean, I have no doubt I hurt people in elementary school, junior high, and high school by pushing them away, saying terrible things to them.
Well, because
we were learning.
People. Yeah. And we were learning, like,
And
what's
I was
socially
hurting.
accessible because you're pushing your boundaries.
But I was hurting.
Yeah.
Very much hurting. And I think you took me under your wing and helped me heal a lot of the things that I was hurting about, because I felt seen, heard, and understood for the first time in my life.
And, likewise for me, and kindred spirit. And it felt really good that for the first time in my life, I was in a position where I had respect and I had admiration and I had someone who was wishing and wanting to listen to me and spend time with me, which is something I had never had before.
I hadn't either.
And so, it became a very intense relationship for the two of us, I think, really quickly. And it's actually the way most of my relationships go. They get very intense very fast when I have a significant life bond.
Yeah. I can't say that. I can't say it's been very different for me either.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get into pointing out the trauma all along the ways, but that's also trauma related. So anyways, how did our friendship navigate the pain of, wait, I jumped. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. Okay. How did our friendship navigate the pain of my sexual assault and how we both processed that event?
You were not really processing that event.
Well, I was 17.
Yeah. You came home. You were very upset. You were crying. You told me.
You met me at the door.
You said, I
didn't have
think
the
I was
keys.
raped. You said, I think I was raped.
Was that the first thing I told you?
Yep. And I asked you what happened and you told me everything. And then, you didn't talk about it anymore after that. And every once in a while, you'd kind of mention how you didn't want to see him again and you didn't want to be around him. And I know you were scared of him because he was so much bigger than you.
Yeah.
And he hurt you physically and emotionally and mentally when he did that to you. And when he assaulted you, it was horrible. But you weren't capable of dealing with it. And I think...
I was also afraid of talking about it because I knew if I even told my parents that college would be over for me.
That, and let's face it, to this day, women are still unable to talk about assault because there's the instant someone says that was uncomfortable for me, the response is, well, what did you do to instigate it?
Well, yeah, and there's a tremendous amount of guilt. I'm 17. It's my first day of college. I've been flirting with him on phone calls and met him at college orientation. That's how we met. I don't know if you knew that. And I pursued him.
Mm-hmm, you did. You pursued him.
I pursued him.
So, I mean, and honestly, like I just said, there was a bit of disbelief on my side, too, when you said that. Because I'm like, but you like him. And I don't think I understood.
And you barely knew me.
Yeah.
You just met me that day. It was the next morning. Did you know that?
Oh, I thought it was a week later.
It was the first day.
Oh.
It was the very first day I was at college.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I thought it was a little later.
Nope.
But, yeah, I admit horrifically, I admit that I had some of that. Well, didn't you do something to encourage it?
I did.
Attitude.
I was drinking.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I deserved it, but I certainly was not making sober decisions that were healthy and good for me.
No. And I wish I could say I was wise enough to have given you all the support you needed, but there was a lot of what now you're taking a pregnancy test. Like there was a lot of, oh my God, this girl is so naive and so innocent. And did she do this to herself?
Should I have not taken a pregnancy
No,
test?
it's good that you did. But like at the time, it was like, it was a lot for me to process too.
Yeah,
it was a lot for
We were
all of
both
us
kids.
in the dorm room to process, because
Did everyone else know?
yeah, you told it. And Angie and Layla knew. And I mean, we all talked about it together,
Okay.
but none of us had that experience. So we were all kind of, okay, so now what do we do with you?
Yeah.
It was hard to go through that.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd been able to guide you through it better, but I didn't. I had no one in my life who'd had an experience like that at that point. That was something that happened on TV. That wasn't real.
Well, me too, which is why I showed up at a door without keys and said, I think I've been raped.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I think I watched this on an after school special.
Exactly.
Oh, I shouldn't be laughing. Okay. Let's see. Looking back at our journey, how do you see us healing from the emotional wounds that we carried both individually and together?
How do I see us healing from those wounds?
Yeah.
Lots of therapy.
Lots of talking.
Lots of talking.
Lots of processing.
So many. I just find it really...
Hours in person and on the phone.
But I just find it almost humorous that, or ironic or something. Every time we see each other, when we haven't seen each other for a long time, we almost spend the entire night talking. And I know that we've done that many times where it's like, oh my God, the sun's coming up, and we're still talking. Like, I've never done that with anyone except you. Where
really
spent non-drug related. Yeah.
Well, this last time we got back in touch, you were too tired, but you did listen to me talk.
I made it till midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
I don't think it was that late.
It was that late. I looked at my phone.
Okay. I believe you.
So, we always have so much to say to each other, and we have so much to hear from each other. And I think that's what helps us get through everything, is we have a lot of knowledge, insight, love, compassion. We have all of that for each other. And so when we come together, it's all right to be who we are. I don't know if I'm more real with anyone besides you. I really don't. I mean, I can say with confidence that you know more about me than my husband. Not, of course, like the day-to-day recent stuff, but like I would say that you are going to have a better bead on my motivations and reactions to some extent than he will. And you're going to know more secrets than he does, because my husband doesn't need to know everything. Like, I don't need to know everything about him. Like, you be you, honey, I'll be me. Like, but you do. You know everything. Like, I don't hesitate to tell you something.
Yeah. This is a special privilege.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice to have someone like that.
I feel like our relationship has been built upon we have what the other person needs.
There's a lot of that, I think. It's very gratifying to have someone who, when they tell me or show me something, it does fill a need or a hole or a question. Like, it's very satisfying, because it's done then, like I'm not still wondering, I'm not still hurting, I'm not still thinking. I've got someone who's given me a response that I can trust and rely on, and it feels good.
Okay. Falling in love for the first time.
Yay.
Such a powerful experience. As was the pain of my first major heartbreak. How did my falling in love and the eventual breakup affect you as my closest friend?
I didn't realize until we were talking about this earlier. Like, I didn't ever articulate or put even to mind that I was jealous of someone taking you away from me like that. I was happy that you had someone that loved you and that you loved too. But like all of a sudden we weren't spending time together like we used to. You were turning to him for more and more affirmation, and we grew apart when you got into that relationship. And it did affect us, and there was a gradual decline in our closeness for a number of years while you were with him. And then, of course, when it ended, you moved to LA. Well, before it ended, you were in Chico, so you moved away from me twice.
Yeah.
I'm used to being abandoned, so I just knew that, like, okay, we were good friends, and now she's going to go away. Because when people leave, they never come back. But you do. But I didn't know that at the time because you hadn't gone away before. So it was very painful for me. Like I said, not because I wasn't glad for you. It was because on a selfish level, the person who I related to the most at the time, who was my primary person, was you were going away.
Mm-hmm. And we were fairly codependent on each other.
Yeah, but we were roommates for 2 years, and we were confidants for 2 years, and now all of a sudden I wasn't your confidant anymore, and you were living with a guy, and you weren't living in town anymore. You left me alone, and who's going to be my new roommate? And okay, you're not even going to school with me anymore. So what? Like I dropped out of school when you moved to Chico. I moved to Tahoe, and
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I did go back to school. I got on the dean's list. But
we both went back to school.
Yeah, we both went back to school eventually.
Yeah, I quit when I was in Chico.
Yeah.
Which is what my parents were worried about.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought.
So it's just, that's how that influenced. That you asked how you falling in love influenced our relationship.
Oh, no, I lost what you were saying something I was going to comment on, but I forgot. Either way. Okay. So what do you remember about my decision to have an abortion, and how did it impact our friendship and our understanding of each other?
So that was when we called it the six of us. That's how we always referred to our group.
Yeah. So 6 friends. We met pivotally. I can't even say.
Pivotally.
Thank you.
I spit when I said that. Pivotally.
We met actually on my birthday. Or around my birthday.
It was Halloween weekend when I was introduced to the guys, and it was the following week that I dragged you up there to meet everybody. And when I say up there, we meant Chico.
Yeah, Chico State, Northern California, somewhere east, and about 3-hour drive in some very isolated areas of California to get there.
Frias.
And we went up there for my birthday, and
I met some really cool people because of my best friend who was going to Chico.
And she was dating
a really cool guy. And I remember the night I met them, I was just in awe.
Yes, you came home talking about them.
They had an amazing house.
You couldn't stop talking about them.
Great vibes.
When you came back home.
Yeah, they were so cool. And then I was like,
they
Andrea,
were
you
all
gotta meet
older
them.
too.
They were all older.
They seemed mature.
God, totally, didn't they?
They seemed like they had it all together.
So Andrea went up there the next week.
3 girls.
I didn't meet Chad that weekend. Chad was gone that weekend. He was hanging out with Mark Jonas.
Oh, I don't remember who Mark Jonas is. I just remember the name.
So he was with Mark Jonas that weekend. So it was just Peter and Justin that weekend, and Nicole and me. And the next weekend you came up, and
Chad was there.
And we dropped acid or X or something, and we went out to Bidwell Park, and you kept telling us that the sky was flickering, and then you realized after a while that it was you blinking. And we all laughed at you because that was Andrea and her gangly little toddler stage learning, and all the rest of us who were so much older and wiser were laughing at you.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Fun to laugh at me, or just fun days?
That was a fun night.
It was a fun night. Okay.
Peter had that whistle when he used to try to get our attention.
So many.
Remember the whistle?
No.
I can't do it. My lips are
Please
too dry.
don't do it in the microphone for
No,
everyone.
I'm not going. But he had a whistle that he'd do for us. And there was a hand thing where, hey, what? Like, I love you. Remember we used to squeeze like Morse code?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot that came out of that. It was a very intense time for us.
It was.
So when you had an abortion, the 6 of us rallied around you. But at the same time, we were like, again, Andrea's the youngest one. Like, why did she let this happen? Because I just felt like we were judgy because we didn't know how to be any other way. But we did rally around you because it was, the 3 of us or the 6 of us were all conjoined. Yeah.
We were all very close. Yeah.
I remember that first weekend that you met Chad when we pulled all of the mattresses into Peter's room and it was raining and we all laid together on these mattresses underneath the skylights with the rain on the skylights and listening to Seal.
I can't even listen to that album without not thinking of it. Okay. So how did you deal with the emotional fallout of that breakup between Chad and I and the role I asked you to play in my life during that time?
So like I said, you had the year before left me to move to Chico to live with Chad. So we had started to disintegrate a bit. I know that I had gone to visit you both in Chico a few times, but it wasn't like before.
No, it wasn't.
And you and Chad were getting closer and closer. And I definitely, instead of feeling like I was a part of it, which is how I felt when the 6 of us were together, I definitely felt like a third wheel when I was with you and Chad. So when you broke up with him, we were already like,
there was so
sliding
much
apart.
Triangulation between, this is what I was going to say earlier. There was so much triangulation between you, Chad, and I.
Yeah.
He would hang out with you. And then it's not like I was jealous of it, but it almost felt like the 2 of you would talk about me. And then he and I would hang out together and we would talk about you.
Yeah.
But mostly from him. I actually think he was the triangulation piece of it.
He was the pivot.
He was, because when I look back on it, I couldn't tell you what he would say, but it's not like he talked shit about you because he liked you.
Yeah.
But he also was concerned about how close we were. It's not like he tried to break us up, but he was consistently telling me that our relationship wasn't necessarily healthy because of how close we were. Because of how much we relied on each other. Well, probably how much I relied on you to tell me what to do.
I could see Chad doing that.
Yeah.
Because like I was jealous of you falling in love with Chad, he was probably jealous of me because when you weren't with him, you were with me.
Yes.
So, and then you guys broke up and you moved to LA. So like you really physically removed yourself from us, from me. And it just, our relationship for a while there kind of fizzled out. Yeah,
I moved in with my parents because I didn't know where else to go.
Yeah.
He had asked basically for an open relationship and I was 19. I didn't even know what that meant. And
Chad.
I'll never forget the moment of holding his hand coming back from the video store, eating a popsicle, and him saying that he wanted to see other people, but that I didn't need to move out. And I was like, wait, how exactly does that work? Wait, what? I was so perplexed. But either way, I didn't, I hung out in that apartment with him for probably another 2 months trying to figure that what that looked like, and also how serious he was about it. But he moved on fairly quickly, and left me there, right? So at a certain point, I was like, I can't stay here. I came here for you, and your friends are my friends. And I think I'd maybe made a couple at the most friends. And so there was nothing really keeping me there, especially if he didn't want to be in a relationship with me anymore. It's not like I had fallen in love with Chico so much that I wanted to build a life there. And because I certainly didn't have one before I had met him in Chico. And I didn't, I learned it through him, that entire city. So,
And I was in Tahoe.
And then
so you couldn't come back to school and live with me as a roommate because
he being there would have reminded me of that breakup anyway. It would have been very, very painful to do it by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I moved to parents, which wasn't necessarily
But we got you back out of there again.
great. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other story.
Yep. But we did. We got you out.
Yeah. I slept on the floor.
Got you a room with Megan.
No, that wasn't Megan. That was how I met Megan.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
In that apartment.
Yeah.
In Roanoke Park.
Yeah, but I was sleeping on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We kind of went on a segue, but that's good.
Yeah.
Let's see. I know I hurt not only you, but the people you loved as well. How did you reconcile our friendship when I was being emotionally abusive to others, including you?
So, I had very destructive coping mechanisms, and one of them was food. Another was oblivion. Like, I just, la, 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 I'm not listening to you. Like, just completely put the blinders on and remove myself from the situation and pretend like that stuff didn't happen. So we were talking today about when you're depressed, how you're pressing things down. And so I pressed a lot down because it hurt me very much to have, I knew that I couldn't introduce you to my friends because you were going to not be nice to them. And
you knew that.
I did. I was very aware. And I told you this recently that I always felt like I was the hub on a bicycle and you were a spoke and all of my friends were spokes. And I felt like at the time that none of them could be together. And I was the hub of the spokes that like held everyone in my environment, in my life, but I couldn't have them ever touch. And I think it's primarily because you would not be nice to anybody. And I always knew, and Nicole and I used to talk about it, we always knew that you were being snotty to people because you didn't want me to be taken away from you. So I watched you with many of my friends try to one-up them. I know Jules better than you. Or I saw stuff like that happen. And I remember very distinctive moments when you one-upped my friends. And it was embarrassing and it was painful. And depending on who was more prominent in my life at that time, I would take that side. Not always yours.
You're making me very reflective right now. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I'm being extremely honest. It's not always fun to say what I'm saying. But
no, I asked the question, so I would want you to be honest. I'm very reflective on that as well as how it's reverberated out.
Well, you don't do it anymore.
Who says?
You're no longer a single spoke.
Yeah. What moments of our friendship stand out to you as pivotal for healing from the hurt we caused one another?
Yeah, this is a hard question. Because healing from the hurt would be obviously when we come back together again after we hadn't seen each other for a while, because I'd pull away. And
did you always feel like you were the one that was pulling away? Did I ever?
Always felt like,
except for the one time at Stevenson Hall.
I always left because that was my safety. And the fact that
I moved in with Chad.
Yeah.
But other than those two things, did I ever leave you?
No. because that's my coping mechanism.
Okay.
And I do it to this day. I leave. So I always would call you when I needed you back. So when I was at the lowest point in my life, that's when I would reach back out to you. And because you are who you are and you're loyal and loving, you would be there for me in a jiffy every time. And no time had passed at all between when we'd last seen each other and the new moment. Now, of course, because we were so emotionally and mentally secure in our lives, we had such wonderful conversations about why we weren't talking to one another. No. We just ignored all that stuff, swept it under the rug, and then moved forward like we were starting all over again. Mm-hmm. But with all of this past knowledge. No, past knowledge. I don't think when we get back together again that I ever held anything against you from before.
I don't think I did either.
I think we just moved forward and just pretended like, okay, well, that's over and we don't need to talk about it. And hi, how are you doing today?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I don't think I did either.
I mean, to this day, I don't feel like I need to go back and rehash anything with you.
Well, I think I always kind of attributed it to like, that was just like an explosion. Like it was just some misunderstanding, or it was like to me, it always seemed like it was dramatic. It seemed like it was dramatic.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it's emotionally painful to have discontent in a relationship, and to get to a point where you're like, okay, I need to take a break. We didn't take timeout breaks. We took long pauses that lasted anywhere from a year to, I think our longest pause was 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I just looked at those times that you would pull back as that you were mad at me or I deserved it, or, like, because we talked about when you first met me, I was the baby. So it's like all of my relationships had been that I was wrong. And so I just accepted that I had done something wrong, or that it pissed you off again, or that I couldn't get it right, or, like it was total victim mentality.
Yeah. And that, for as true as that may have been, my coping with that, instead of saying, hey, this is hurting me, let's talk about it and let's move through it. My coping mechanism is okay, like I am going to go over here and you are going to go over there. And TTFN and
Tata for now.
Yes. And
I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah. And and I did. I needed to walk away because I was hurt and I couldn't articulate how or why, and I didn't even think that I had the value in you to tell you that I hurt you, because I didn't think that you would care.
Learning things 33 years later. Speaking of which, what are some of the hardest lessons you've learned in our 33 years together, both about me and about yourself?
I don't think I have any hard lessons about you, because you have been consistently supportive. I think I told you last night, or maybe I told you, I don't know. We've talked a lot since I came up here.
We have.
But I told you that you have always taken care of me. And if I'm not eating right, or if I'm not feeling good, or if I have a migraine, or, if things are going like shit in my life, you're always there to make sure that I'm okay. And that's always meant more to me than I ever knew how to say thank you for it. I don't even think that for the longest time I knew that you were always there for me for those things. But I look back on it and I'm like, geez, every time I've had a tough time, every time something has been going wrong or right, Andrea's always by my side to cheer me on and rally me and make sure that I've even if I'm neglecting myself, that someone's taking care of my needs. And you're very good at doing that. And you don't just do it for me, you do it for everyone. You like to nurture. And I'm not saying that in any kind of negative way. I think that it's a very positive thing that you're able to see people for who they are and what they need, and to give them the assistance they need.
Thanks, Jules. If you could go back and give advice to us in our college years, what would it be?
That one is be okay with who you are and stop trying to please everyone else by being what they think you are.
Or what they need you to be.
Or what they need you to be. But I think what they think you are, like I said a little bit ago, like I'm the fat, ugly sister. And that's my identity because that's what my family thought I was. And I will always be that. Right or wrong, that's my identity. And
you can't change your identity.
That's who I am. And if I feel like if I go back and tell myself to stop being the fat, ugly sister, that I would actually stop being the fat, ugly sister.
And then what happens?
Then I wouldn't be berating myself for every decision that I make and every choice I've made in relationships since then.
And isn't that a good thing?
If I could change that, yeah, I would love to change being the fat, ugly sister, but I don't know. That's who I am. And so if I went back in time and said, stop it, that's not you. You can be who you want to be, not who other people have told you to be.
Yeah.
That would be, I think, a pivotal moment. Same with you. You know, you don't need to be Presh, but I think you've grown out of Presh. Very much.
Yeah. But I think I've always been open to that not being who I was. I didn't necessarily love that nickname. It's not like...
Oh, I know you hate that nickname.
Yeah. It's not like I felt like that was representative of who I was. It's that nickname was given to me out of jealousy because when it came to my family... I was just talking about this on Friday with some of the students that I'm getting my master's with. Is, so interesting how it came about because we were in a career counseling class together and we were talking about like a career issue and like getting counseled on a career issue. And all of my family shit came up because how do you not talk about how you chose careers and why you chose them if you don't go back to what your parents did for a living. And, so all of that came up and now I've lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? Help me.
You were talking about your identity as Presh and how...
Oh, and so it's not
you
like...
You weren't Presh.
But the reason why I became Presh is because I was the youngest child. And so my two older sisters were 5 and 6 years older than me, and my parents were in a different stage of their life, as most parents are with each children, but they were in a different stage of their life, right? They were much younger when they had them. And so it's not like they had a better rule book by the time that they got to me, but they certainly thought that they were doing a better job. And so they put all the time and energy and resources into me that my sisters probably honestly did not get because they'd given up on them. They were already mischievous. They were already skipping school. They were living the Mendocino life in Orange County. They were like my parents were not proud of them. And so they worked really hard and my mom made me an extension of her hopes and dreams. She essentially just eradicated any wants or desires that I might have or needs. And she just told me what I should be doing. And so I was used to people telling me what I should be doing. But in addition, I was trying to break free of that. And in addition, breaking free of the Presh, right? That name was given to me because they were jealous of the fact that my parents listened to me. But that was because I, again, was absolutely people pleaser and I would have done anything to survive in that family. Yeah. So,
It was a very tough environment.
It was a very, very difficult environment to grow up in. No doubt about it. If I could go back to my college years and give us advice, I think I would probably say, yeah, something similar to you. But
You're okay.
mostly,
Like, just
but
you're
mostly be gentle.
Yes, be gentle. That's a very, very wise statement.
Be
Because
gentle.
you and I were not gentle. We were very much a part of cram it down your throat, ram it through your head, like very hardcore.
Blame and guilt and shame. Because that's how we were raised to make change.
Yep.
Blame and guilt and shame. All of those. And shoving that onto other people and pouring it onto ourselves.
Yes.
In double doses, right? Because
You don't
we should
learn no pain,
know
no
better.
gain.
We should have known better, right? And yeah. So I would definitely go back to my younger version, and I think about this a lot. I was so hard on myself.
Oh God, yeah. For me, it hasn't stopped. Yay, lucky me.
Well, I mean,
But I
it's not like I'm 100% healed. Do you ever become healed?
no,
100%?
it's a journey. See, enjoy the journey.
How do you feel we've both changed since those early years, and what parts of our friendship do you value the most now?
I value our commitment to one another, the fact that we are loyal, remain free and trusting enough with one another that we can confide in each other still to this day, that I still trust you and rely on you, and you still trust me and rely on me. And I know that that is not in any way gonna waver ever. It's definitely become a very positive relationship where at times it hasn't been positive, in times it's been codependent. Now I think it's a very good give and take. I wish it was a little bit more balanced instead of, I just feel like one of us is always leading and the other is always following. And I would like it to be more side by side compatible. Maybe we'll get there someday, but it's still, life is a journey. And my cup says, enjoy the journey. Maybe that's what we're going to need from each other forever, is one of us is always going to be sharing experiences and opening up doors for the other and showing and guiding them through life, because that's how we started.
I just feel like we both have it's like we have the missing piece for the other person. I never really saw it as like I'm better or you're better. I just felt like there were times in my life, critical moments, that you had advice on how to get through on the path. Sometimes the path of least resistance, right? You were like, come over here. This is a lot easier. And so to me, it never really felt like we weren't equals. I always felt like we were equals. I just felt like you had more experience in an area that maybe I didn't have as much experience, and vice versa.
Yeah.
That's how I saw it.
I remember one time right after you'd had Alexis, and you said to me, and it was right after I'd broken up with my first love, and the heartbreak and the trauma of just being heartbroken, and the loss of that, the loss of what could be. And I was just broken. And you had been independent for a while, and you were a new mom, and you said, just ride on my coattails, Jules. I'll take you there. We'll get through this. And that was something like, God, how long? Well, Jasper is 26. So yeah, like 24 years ago you said that, and it's still in my mind. So yeah, you've been strong for me for a long time.
Sorry, I'm taking that in because I don't always feel strong. What role does forgiveness play in our friendship, and how has it helped us maintain this connection over decades?
Oh my God, if we didn't have forgiveness, we wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
And I think that may be something that we taught each other without even knowing it. Because like I said, we've always come back to each other and we haven't had to hash out what happened, but yeah,
It's interesting because I feel like you taught that to me better than anybody.
well, why? Because I would disappear and then come back and not question you about it.
But my family didn't teach me forgiveness.
I think you taught me that too, because you taught me to limit my episodes of being unhappy or being angry. I mean, many parents do too, because like we were talking about the other night, like go to your room and don't come back until
They
you're
taught
not
you
acting
some
that way
boundaries,
anymore.
yeah.
But you had the same lesson, but you had a time, like you were given 15 minutes, you were given an hour, you were given a time, and I was just told to go to my room until I felt like I could be part of the family again and come back out after I could be a normal
You mean
child.
in parenting, I had the same experience.
Yeah.
Got it.
But what am I trying to say? Like for actual forgiveness, I didn't articulate it. I didn't say I forgive you. I just kind of more moved on from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have moved on with me. And because there is that solid, cohesive start for us, that we don't need to go into all of that because we understand each other. I mean, sure, if I hurt your feelings, I'm going to apologize, but I'm not going to hold it against you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have a tendency to do it with other people more because I can't trust them like I can trust you. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Unconditional love. That's how we move on. And that's how we forgive each other. Unconditional love.
I think you taught me unconditional love.
I
know I hadn't experienced it. I didn't even know what it meant until a teacher talked to me about it in my freshman summer. Yeah, I was in Saddleback Junior College during the summer taking a class.
I remember that. Yep.
A couple of classes actually, and one of them being a pottery class, and I ran into my English teacher that I really liked, which is part of the reason why I went into English. You were going into English, and my friend Krista Knott was going into English. And so I was inspired by that teacher. That teacher saw me at a very dark time in high school and took me under their wing. And they saw me again that summer. And we were talking about my relationship with my mom, and I'll never forget. And I still remember, they said, "That's not love, Andrea. That's conditional love. Do you know the difference between conditional love and unconditional love?" And it was like a foreign concept. I was like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So you taught me that over time. You taught me that I didn't have to do anything other than be me, and I could still be accepted.
Yeah. Yes. I do know that I told you that because you did not understand that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Which is strange coming from me, considering that I never felt accepted myself. Maybe I was just telling you that I would accept you, but because you accepted me. But again, like you and I have something that I don't have with anyone else. Sure.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think the future holds for us as friends, and what hopes do you have for how we continue to grow together?
I hope that we continue to communicate, to stay in touch, to share our experiences with one another. You bought the place in Sardinia. I would love to know that, you and I can go sit on the beach together and watch the sunset from that really great restaurant that had the really great view. That's 5 minutes away from your place.
It seems like a dream right now.
I know. Because, yeah.
It's so far away.
It's not done and dusted yet.
Yeah.
But
that whole vacation, that whole experience seems like it was a totally Like it seems not only like it didn't happen just a couple months ago, but
Just because the tan's fading doesn't mean it didn't happen.
but it seems like it's like so distant. Like it's like a faded memory.
You know, what's funny is like that whole trip was wonderful, but somehow Capri sticks out to me as the pinnacle of
Of the
that
trip?
time. Yeah.
What do you think it was about Capri for you?
I can't make this make sense to anyone because I have a hard time articulating it to myself, because even though I'm an English major, I don't think English has all the words to contain all of our emotions and thoughts.
Sure.
Even though it's got thousands and thousands of more words than most languages have. I felt the most Italian and the most connected to Capri. And it filled me up with joy to be there.
Huh.
It was like an awakening. The Blue Grotto, when our guide through the Blue Grotto was singing Volare, and it was just like incredible. Getting those dresses in that store and wearing linen capri clothing and sitting on the balcony and having insulated capris and limoncello spritzers or whatever they were, and looking out over the Mediterranean and feeling the breeze come up and just feeling so refreshed. That really resounded with me in Capri more than it did anywhere else. So,
Well, you were sick the first week
I was
that we were
sick
there.
the first week in Sardinia.
Yeah.
And yes, Sardinia has the best beaches I've ever seen.
Yeah,
But
it does.
I really resonated with that place. And I hope for you and I that we have more of those experiences going forward.
Me too. It was a good trip of living like the 1%.
Yes. And and like you just that trip was amazing because, again, your kindness and thoughtfulness, like every day we had gelato. And if I wasn't with you when you bought gelato, you bought me a gelato and would bring it back to me. And like it was just fun to be with you there. You were thoughtful, you were generous, you know, it was a very lovely experience. And I hope that I can reciprocate to you. I hope that when we're together, you're feeling that I'm giving you as much as you give to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be very gratified to know that for the rest of our lives together, our relationship stays even or as balanced as possible, so that no one's taking too much, no one's giving too much, and that it remains harmonious. And I know even if we have more lapses, I know that we're going to come back together again. And I actually hope that we don't end our lives on a lapse. I hope we end our lives together.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to affirm that you've always given me what I need.
Yay.
That I never felt like you were selfish with me, or you too were there for me. If I would have called you at any time in my life from the moment I met you until now, I know you would have given me a credit card, given me
Don't know what you're talking about. Discover.
given me your futon, given me, you know, you have been there for any time. Like when I was living out of my car, like you have been there for me too. And I don't know that I've ever thought about that. think I've always taken it for granted. I think I just always knew deep in my heart how you felt about me. And so I never really questioned your loyalty. I never questioned your loyalty. I think if anything, I took advantage of your loyalty, but I never questioned your loyalty. And I definitely never felt like you weren't giving to me. That is never you, for as much as you say that you think that I've always cared about you, you consistently would have given me a coat out of your closet, given me the bedspread off your bed. Like you know what I mean? Like you would have given me anything that you had. You always showed up for me. You would pay for something if I couldn't afford it. You would take the quarters that you were supposed to use for washing your clothes and pay for the toll bridge to get to San Francisco so we could go to a rave.
Oh
like,
my God.
I mean, like
yes, we would do that.
We would scrape our nickels together to make shit happen. And so, no, you always took me under your wing, and you always so that's funny that you feel like sometimes it's been imbalanced in the sense that like,
well, yin and yang. There's always the give.
Yeah.
There's always that flow.
Yeah.
But you and I are yin and yang,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. But I think we take turns. I think we take turns, and I think that's what a relationship is. The best example I've ever heard of a relationship is it's like two feet on the ground, and when one is up, the other person's standing. And you take turns standing for each other. So you've always done that for me. So I don't feel like there's ever been, I'm being completely honest, I can't look back at a time where I ever felt like you let me down.
Well, that's lovely to hear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing honestly and authentically your experience of me, and giving me some things to think about too. And I really appreciate you and our friendship. And I'm so glad that you are back in my life.
Yep.
And I too feel strongly about keeping that bond, and about, I love that you said, that was really sweet, that you hope that we're together, but I don't see why we would be apart at this point.
Well, life takes us in different directions sometimes. We don't know what's going to happen.
That is 100%
And you're
true.
in Portland, and I'm in Auburn, and it's a flight to get here, or a very long car drive.
But, there's technology now that we didn't have.
That we did not have.
That we did not have.
We had long distance calls when we were younger.
We did.
We had to pay long distance bills.
We did, and we made it happen still. So,
yeah.
Thank you, Jules.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting this podcast. Your presence here means the world to me, and I'm truly grateful for your time and energy. If this conversation resonated with you or sparked any questions, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing from each of you. Your insights, experiences, and curiosities always enrich this space. It's important to remember that trauma, often unseen and unacknowledged, can keep us from living fully in our joy. Through my intuitive healing process, I help release the weight of generational trauma, empowering you to reconnect with your true self and experience life in greater harmony. If you feel called to explore this deeper work, I invite you to book a one-on-one intuitive session, or even embark on a personalized journey with a Phoenix Immersion, a 2-day retreat designed to support profound transformation. You can find all the details below. For those who've liked, subscribed, or left comments already, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your engagement means everything, and I'm deeply grateful for the connection we're building in this community. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. I'm excited for all the healing and transformation we'll continue to explore together. As always, I'm forever grateful for you, and I cannot wait to see what unfolds next. Take care. And until next time.